Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right, everybody. Thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show I read a lot of comic books, and I let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week, and this week's pick of the week, Swan Songs, #1, from Image Comics. So this is a new anthology series from Ice Cream Man writer W. Maxwell Prince. This first issue has artwork from Martin Simmons, and each issue of this is going to have a different artist. So it's kind of like Haha or Ice Cream Man, where it's an anthology series, each self-contained stories, but unlike Ice Cream Man, but like Haha, each issue is going to be done by a different artist. And Swan Songs, the basic conceit, the premise is this. Each issue is the complete story of the end of something. In this first issue, it's the end of the world. In the next issue, it's an end of a marriage. So if you thought that Ice Cream Man was depressing, wait till you read this one, because this one is about a dude who's spending time with his dying mother. She's dying of cancer. He's just trying to read better homes and gardens to her, but the apocalypse is going on, and there's a rumor that there's one more issue, and he makes the trek across the apocalyptic town to find this one last new issue, A Better Homes and Garden, for his dying mother, right before the end of the world. That is the story, but masterfully told by W. Maxwell Prince, and oh my goodness, the artwork from Martin Simmons. Now, you know Martin Simmons from books like Friendo, books like Department of Truth. Holy cow, Martin Simmons just keeps taking his work to the next level time and time again. This book really hit me. If you're a fan of Ice Cream Man, I would highly encourage you to check this out. If you like the idea of a really clever anthology series spotlighting and highlighting absolute fantastic artists and really cool in-depth stories with nuance, and there's not much hope in this one, y'all, except for, I guess, the hope of love. This was a great book. It was really good. So the pick of the week, Swan Songs, #1. Also this week from Image, we have Untold Tales of I Hate Fairyland. So I Hate Fairyland is on, it has returned recently, and it's returned in spectacular fashion. I've really loved the first arc of the second volume of I Hate Fairyland, and now we're a little bit on a hiatus, and in between this, we got this series where other artists, other creators are coming in to tell their stories about the I Hate Fairyland world. In this one, you got a story written by Scotty Young with artwork from Aaron Conley, and it's got these like shit-talking gummy bears that I liked, so I thought that was cute. I thought that was fun. Dean Rainkine does the second story with like the 3 little pigs, and it's a little weird, it's a little bit wild. So if you like the irreverent crudeness of I Hate Fairyland and you want to scratch that itch, you definitely want to jump into this. Even though it's not part of the main thread of the main story, all of the art is tonally appropriate, and so are the stories. So if you're reading I Hate Fairyland, check that out. Weird Work issue #1. This has got a cool cover from Jeff Darrow. You don't see Jeff Darrow do much cover work, so when he does, it's usually for a friend, and that's cool. Weird Work #1 seems like the kind of book that I should totally be into. Really cool artwork, bright colors, really weird, quirky, not taking itself too seriously, but I just found it very difficult to get into this book. When I flipped through it and looked at it, it seemed like something right up my alley, but it was a chore to read, it was slightly confusing, and I just never quite got into it. Maybe if it had a little bit, I don't know, it's not that it was the amount of words, it was just the words were static. Like, it provided like this, with the artwork, it just kind of halted me throughout my reading experience. So it seemed weird, it seemed quirky, it seemed like something that I should be digging, but I just didn't. Then we got Phantom Road here with issue #5. This was a high-octane issue for Phantom Road, as far as Phantom Road goes. Jeff Lemire doing a typical Jeff Lemire job. We're just doing a very efficient economic story, not really trying to blow your mind with some kind of crazy concept or crazy super innovation, but just telling a solid story and slowly revealing things about characters, slowly amping things up. Now, this is the end of book 1, but it does promise to come back for a book 2, and I'm excited to see this series develop because it has been rather mysterious and almost slightly mundane, even with its fantastic elements. But I've actually really enjoyed this book as it develops issue to issue. Kind of like Little Monsters, this one's been growing on me. Starts off like a slow burn, giving us a little bit at a time, then it becomes a little bit more complex, complex as the issues go. Gabriel Hernandez Walta, fantastic on the art. Jordi Belair doing this muted colors approach that is very tonally appropriate for that book. Then we got I Hate This Place, issue number 10, the final issue of this book from Kyle Starks, Art Yum Topolin, and Lee Lowridge. I've really enjoyed this book. To be honest, when I first started reading this book, I liked it. I dug it enough. Okay, a couple go to this house in the woods. There's ghosts in the woods. Then there were giant spiders. Then there was the super crazy fanatical religious father of one of the partners who comes in to try to, like, you know, wreck shit, you know. And then there's this time travel element. And then there's all this stuff. And this book and this series has just continued to thrill me and to excite me and to surprise me all the way through to the very end of the series. So, honestly, this is a book that I liked, but thought I would eventually just fall out of. But every issue kept twisting me around, keeping me more interested. This has been a hell of a book. I Hate This Place, number 10. Oh, and by the way, a very satisfying ending. Speaking of endings, Torrent is here with issue number 5, the final issue of Torrent, and I enjoyed it. This was another book where I was like, I remember reading the first issue and be like, I'll probably drop it after issue 2. I read issue 2, I was like, that was a very well done comic. Let me read issue 3. It's pretty well done comic. Let me read issue 4. And I read it all the way through to the end, and I enjoyed it. It's nothing new, nothing we haven't seen. It's about this superhero. Her identity gets unveiled to one of her big villains. They show up on her doorstep, kill her husband, and now her kid's in danger. She now goes on this path of revenge. Because she can't get no help from her superheroes, because they're like, yo, we're superheroes. She's like, I'm killing all these mother effers right now. And it's this path of vengeance, and it does get deep into a little bit of a cliche where, like, revenge isn't all it's cracked up to be, right? But they do kind of twist it a little bit differently at the end, and I liked certain bold aspects of this ending. But there's a piece of me that goes, what exactly happened? That's kind of disappointing. There is a bit at the end where it ends so abruptly, I'm like, we needed 2 more pages. 2 more pages is what we needed. But Torrent number 5 was a decent enough conclusion. Then we got Spawn here with 343. Really like this issue of Spawn. Love that cover. Is it the cover of the week? No, it is not. It is not the cover of the week. But it is a contender for cover of the week. This one is by Kabar. I absolutely love that cover. I like the book too. Spawn has really been amping up. Spawn has realized that he's been completely being manipulated by all these different factions. Al has thought he has been in control. He has recently found out that he's not in control, and he's been playing into everybody's hands. Plus, there's a little bit more information giving about certain people who are fighting for the throne of hell and why they can or cannot possibly take it. So I really liked it. This one actually progressed the story a little bit further, had some really solid artwork. Spawn, $2.99, cardstock cover, still one of the absolute best deals in comics out there. $5.99 comic, $2.99 comic. For instance, DC, $5.99 comic, Night Terrors, First Blood, issue number 1. This is the kickoff to Night Terrors, aside from the free comic book day issue we got. Now, I know a lot of people are trepidatious about Night Terrors because it's basically an event that's coming in to interrupt DC publication for 2 months. So for the next 2 months, you're not getting Batman or Detective Comics. You're getting Night Terrors Batman, Night Terrors Detective Comics. You get what I'm saying? But I liked it. I liked this first issue of Night Terrors. It's written by Josh Williamson with artwork by Howard Porter. That's her dream team right now at DC. And Josh understands the assignment. The assignment is to tell a horror-fueled story for the DC Universe. Is the point of this whole thing just to fill in 2 months gap? It doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like shoved in like, say, Future State, or shoved in like, say, Convergence, right? It doesn't feel entirely separate. It feels part of Dawn of DC, right? It feels like it's naturally embedded in there and connected. Plus, the assignment, tell a horror-fueled story. And Howard Porter understands that excitement because the artwork is truly horrific at times. Nice spotlight on Deadman. I really liked it. The basic premise of the book is this. Dr. Destiny, he has a dream stone. There's another entity out there who's introduced in this issue who is looking for the opposite of the dream stone, the Nightmare Stone. The Nightmare Stone has been hidden in the dreams and nightmares, or I should say, yes, the nightmares of some superpowered individual on Earth. So this entity causes everybody to fall asleep. So everybody's going to be having their own nightmares. This entity, this villain, is going to be going through these nightmares trying to find the Nightmare Stone. I really enjoyed the kickoff, First Blood. I thought it was great. All the tie-ins will not be necessary. Some of these tie-ins will interrupt books that you're already reading. I'm going to guide you through it. If you're interested in the event, I would recommend just read Night Terror's First Blood this week. The next week, Night Terror's #1, I think. There's like 4, and then there's a final issue, so there's really 6. Anyway, there's no Rambo in this book, which sucks. Because First Blood, get it? Anyway, I liked it. I really did. I thought it was good. It was solid, and it's not going to overstay its welcome. It'll be done in two months. Then we got Night Terror's Batman. This is written by Joshua Williamson, which gives us a key that this one might be a little bit more key and more focused centrally to the ongoing thread of Night Terrors. And it does, because Batman has certain things, maybe, in place that prevent him from being forced to go to sleep by, say, like some kind of, I don't know, dream demon like Freddy Krueger, but it's not Freddy Krueger. The book kind of is, though. Like, what if Freddy Krueger shows up in the DC universe? There's an element of that, actually. I hope we get to play with more of that. But this is Batman's Nightmares, nothing that we haven't seen before. But Gilliam March, the artist, gets the memo. He's like, hey, this is supposed to be a horror comic. So let's stretch those horror chops. You know what I'm saying? And give us some nice, solid artwork. The coloring is really great. Truly horrific stuff, but it's Batman's dream. And that's what it is. But it does feel more central to Night Terrors. If you just want the main story, just read this. But if you want a little bit of more connected stuff, read that one. Then you get Night Terrors, the Joker. This is by Matthew Rosenberg and Stefano Raphael, I believe. I had a lot of fun with this one, y'all. So, yeah, Stefano Raphael. I had a lot of fun with this one. So this is what this one is. It's the Joker's nightmare. What it is during a confrontation with Batman, Batman slips, falls off a roof, and dies. Now the Joker doesn't know what to do, and he winds up getting like a middle management office job at Wayne Enterprises. That's pretty funny. His worst nightmare is having like a white collar mid-management level job. And that's what happens, but he's still the Joker, and it's really funny. So, is this plugged in and essential? No. Is it a good, fun comic that explores this idea in a fun way? Yes. So, I liked this one. Night Terrors Poison Ivy has very little to do with the main thread of Night Terrors at all, but it is G. Willow Wilson who's been writing Poison Ivy, and through the dreams, or should I say the nightmares of Poison Ivy, she is exploring some of the thematic material that's already being explored in Poison Ivy. So if you're just reading the Night Terrors stuff to get the main thread, to get some of the more connected tie-ins, this is not going to be it, and it's not going to necessarily win you over or wow you as a story if you haven't been reading Poison Ivy. But if you have been reading Poison Ivy, you're going to get some continued thematic development in here, and so I think this is good for people who are currently reading Poison Ivy. Don't skip out for 2 months. Just go ahead and pick this up because it deals with some of her fears about her life with Harley. Then we got Night Terrors Black Adam. The cool thing about this is that we got Jeremy Hahn tasked to do a superhero Black Adam comic book. Jeremy Hahn was the artist on Red Mother, which I absolutely loved. He gets a little bit of the memo about the nightmare stuff, but for the most part, it just reads as a really well put together superhero action scene. But the plot, the story, it is rather thin. It doesn't feel super connected until you get to the end of the book. When you get to the end of the book, there's a possibility that it's more connected than we realize, but we won't really know that until future issues of Night Terrors or Night Terrors Black Adam. All of these series, by the way, are just going to be 2 issues. So I wouldn't recommend this one if you're just wanting the main thread or even the main thread with some slight connection. There might be a slight connection, but it could just be a fake out. Also, if you're reading Black Adam right now, it's not continuing anything from that. It's just its own thing. But it is cool to see Jeremy Hahn do some of this stuff. Then we got Night Terrors Ravager, issue #1 from Ed Brisson and Dexter Soy. The art is great. Dexter Soy 100% got the memo that this is supposed to be a horror comic. And the artwork is great. And it really helps carry this tale through. It's Ravager's dream. She comes up against a younger version of herself. Deathstroke is a monster. And even though it does tie in a little bit with some Stormwatch stuff, if you're digging that Stormwatch story by Ed Brisson or like Batman Inc., you don't have to read this to continue any of that story. But there are elements of this that do make it feel a bit more connected than any of the other Night Terrors books aside from Batman. So that's what I thought about those. We got Steelworks, though. We still got some regular DC books. Steelworks number 2 was better than issue number 1. I was not sold on issue number 1. I didn't really like it at all. I almost didn't read issue number 2, but I'm glad I did because it had a little bit more action, a little bit more clarification on the direction, and a little bit more interesting character dynamics. So it didn't completely win me over, but it was an improvement from issue number 1. Adventures of Superman John Kent, issue number 5. This is the story of John Kent in the Injustice universe. Once again, we're kind of holding back the action right now just to kind of repeat a lot of stuff that we already know, but we are hitting certain emotional moments and levels that only Tom Taylor can do in these kind of stories. So I like this exploration of John Kent. It could be a little bit more focused on building him up as a character. I mean, it does a little bit for the book, but for the most part, it just plays off as, hey, you guys remember Injustice? Well, that was cool. Peacemaker tries hard, issue number 3. This book is awesome. Kyle Starks is on a tear right now. He's just killing it with books like I Hate This Place and Where Monsters Lie was great, and now Peacemaker. If you like the James Gunn Peacemaker series, there is no excuse not to read this, because while we are all awaiting for season 2, just read this because it is that vibe. It is that John Cena level of the character, but even a bit more pathetic and sad. It's Kyle Starks, it's Steve Pugh, the artwork is solid. It feels like a Vertigo book by Garth Ennis from the 90s, and I mean that in the absolute best possible way. This book is hilarious. If you like that Peacemaker show, you need to read that. Let's jump over to Marvel. And from Marvel, we have Captain Marvel, Dark Tempest, issue number 1. So the recent Captain Marvel series by Kelly Thompson just wrapped up a week or two ago at issue number 50, and we immediately have a new number 1. Now, I fell out of that Kelly Thompson run, like in the teens or in the early 20s, and I mean, I liked the run, but it just never captivated me enough, like, say, her work on Black Widow or even her work on Hawkeye. But a new Captain Marvel number 1, a new jumping on point, so I'm excited to read it and check it out. And man, it is even written by veteran writer Ann Nocenti. This was dull. It was boring. It had lack of connection to me as an audience. It was trying too hard to prove that Carol's badass. Instead of just showing her be badass, it was telling us at the same time. Now, I know that Ann Nocenti is old school. She's more of that, in that vein of like Chris Claremont, Louise Simonson, and that's a writing style that had a time and place, and today it just doesn't always come across the best. But what really hurt this book was the art. I just was not into the artwork. It felt stiff, it felt static, it didn't have an exciting sense of energy and action. It had too many words jumbled together, cluttering up the artwork. The art didn't know how to work around that. The letterer didn't know what to do. It was just all over the place. I like Nitro. That was cool, but to be honest, it just didn't do anything for me. This variant cover, though, I really, really like this variant cover. Is it the cover of the week? No, but it's a contender. It's a contender. Daredevil is here with issue number 13. Chip Zdarsky coming to the end of his Daredevil run. We got Marco Cicchetto here for the full issue, and it's always a joy when we get Chip and Marco together for the full issue. Now, the last issue of Daredevil, issue number 12, we talked about it, well, when it released a month ago, and we talked about it on the Best Comics of the Month stream. By the way, if you're not watching our Best Comics of the Month stream that we do here once a month, usually on the last Thursday of the month, you really need to, because we get into what me and a panel of expert comic book enthusiasts think are the best comics of the month. And it's always a cool, fun conversation. We have lots of fun with that. But we talked a lot about Daredevil number 12, how that was great. Me and Nick both agreed that was like Zdarsky's best issue yet. 13's pretty good too, but it does reach certain points very quickly. For a book that has at times felt very slow and overextended, they really rush into a lot of major story points, and that is what happens to me here in issue 13. There are moments where this series soars, moments where it goes too long, and it drags itself down, like all the stuff when Daredevil was in prison, that was dragged down. The idea that Devil's Reign became an event instead of just being the next issues of Daredevil. The way they had to shift and focus Elektra and this and that. So many things get clunky in this run, and this is one of those clunky issues where everything in the issue is great, but the pacing of it, especially when you look at the overall story, just feels like a lot of revelations, a lot of big things happen too abruptly, too quickly, without a lot of time to really let that impact sink in. Art was great, though. Then we got Fantastic Four, issue number 9. This was one of those rare issues of this Fantastic Four run that was not just a self-contained story. This was a continuation from the previous issue where Thing and Reed had their memory of Johnny and Sue and Alicia completely taken out of their minds, so now they're like monstrously going after him, fighting them. So it's an Alicia-centric issue, but also really focusing in on the powers of Storm. There's some weird stretches, there's some clever ideas, but there's some weird stretches. But my biggest problem with this Fantastic Four book is still the coloring. I open it up and it looks like a book from the early 2000s where everything's just orange and brown and just kind of muddies itself all together. And even moments that should be big and really cool just kind of almost lose their pop because it just is all kind of cluttered together. So artistically, I'm not really vibing with the Fantastic Four right now. It needs to have a bouncy flair, I get it, but like, we need a different colorist in here. We do. We really do. And I don't know, man. Like, you can make it work. Like, even that cover by Alex Ross, it's all just one color. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's cool to you. It's just, I mean, the story's okay. It's all right. It's fine. It's decent. It's got moments that work. I don't like being disappointed in a Fantastic Four comic, to be honest with you, but, like, I don't know. I think I'm kind of slightly disappointed in this run. There's, like, cool ideas, but I don't know if it's anything that I'm going to want to reread, and I reread Fantastic Four stuff all the time. I don't know. Doctor Strange is here with issue number 5. I'm still enjoying this book. I love Pascal Ferry's artwork. I've enjoyed his work since I first discovered it in the Heroes for Hire series from the late 90s by John Ostrander. Loved his work there. Followed him for a long time. He did some Ultimate Fantastic Four stuff for a while. Anyway, love the artwork here. Love this story. It's basically, they go to Clea's mom's wedding, and it just kind of comes across like, if you watch sitcom or something like that, and you have like the wedding episode, and you got this person who doesn't like this person doesn't like this person, it all is going to have to erupt at a certain point. That's what happens here, and it's kind of clever, and it's fun, and you know, I wasn't really liking Jed MacKay's Death of Doctor Strange. I wasn't liking his Strange Clea series, but I'm really enjoying this one, and I like what's been built up because of that Strange and Death of Doctor Strange, and it's been built up into this, and I'm actually enjoying it, so I think that's pretty cool and nifty. Then we got Clobber in Time, issue number 5. Steve Scrose doing his final issue of this Thing-centric team-up book, where each issue was Thing teaming up with somebody else, but there is a larger story, a larger picture that was being developed. It all comes to fruition here in the final issue, utilizing Doctor Doom and some of the other characters, and the villain, and this Watcher character. I really had a lot of fun with this series. It did not take itself too seriously. It's a lot tongue-in-cheek, and also masterful artwork from Steve Scrose, which that is worth the price of admission alone. And then we've got Extreme Venomverse. There are 3 Venom books out today. They're Venom, which I quit reading, Venom Lethal Protector 2, which I quit reading, which is actually Venom Lethal Protector 3, and maybe even Venom Lethal Protector 4, if you count the mark back. Okay, anyway. I didn't read this one either. This is Extreme Venomverse, issue number 4. I didn't read it. But why am I showing it to you? Because that Peach Momoko cover right there, that is the cover of the week for me. From Dark Horse Comics, we have Barnstormers, issue number 1. You know, a couple years ago, Scott Snyder signed a deal with Comixology. It was a big deal. He got a lot of top-tier talent creators to join him to create content for Comixology. Dark Horse has been releasing that stuff 2 issues at a time, combined into one as 3-issue series. We have Demons with Greg Capullo, Night of the Ghoul with Francisco Francavilla. We just had Clear with Francis Manipool wrap up. Now we have the Barnstormers with Tula Lote, who I got to meet at Heroes Con. Super sweet, nice British lady. Happy 4th of July, everybody, by the way. This book was awesome. I really liked this book, and I actually kind of wasn't really looking forward to it because Scott Snyder can be pretty wordy. I mean, he's a good writer, but he can be pretty wordy, and when you have 2 issues put together, it can be an arduous task to get through one of these books. I did not have that problem with this book. I loved it. I loved the artwork, this vintage, sepia-toned almost, like 1930s, I think it's 30s, maybe it's the 20s. It's the 20s. Absolutely fantastic. It's about this pilot. He's a barnstormer. He goes from town to town trying to take people up and do like barrel rolls and stuff, trying to make his money doing that way. He winds up literally crashing a wedding, comes across this bride-to-be who wants to leave with him, and they wind up in this whole thing. It's got this adventure, Indiana Jones kind of vibe almost, like not like archaeology and adventurous that way, but it has that kind of vibe and that tone. It is sleek, it is efficient, it is sexy, it is romance romantical. It's romantical? Is that a word? It's sexy, it's cool, it's sleek, it's fun. I had a lot of fun with this book. I liked it a lot. Barnstormers, I would highly recommend. From Mad Cave, we got a new one, Under the Influence. This is written by Elliot Rahal. I haven't read anything from Elliot Rahal in a while. We had him on the show. I love Elliot's work. I love that dude. So I was really excited to read this, and I was not disappointed. This was a really cool book. So it's about this kid who, when he was younger and chubbier, was eating a hot dog and became a meme, right? But now, several years later, he is a social media influencer, and he's like a million followers or something. He's convincing everybody to do this hot dog challenge. Well, somebody doing the hot dog challenge winds up getting killed in the midst of it, right? And now the FBI wants to investigate this because they're like, this feels like social media influencing feel like a new form of like the cult, right? Of like minding, like, you know, just basically, you know, convincing people to join your cult of personality or something like that, right? And so they find somebody who has a mysterious past to work as an FBI agent temporarily to find out who this dude is and find out if what he's doing is for nefarious purposes, and it leads to some stuff. This book was cool. I really enjoyed the artwork. It had a kinetic quality. Even though there were pages with a lot of words, the way it was written and the way it worked with the artwork did not feel clunky, did not feel stagnant and whatsoever. And I got to really highlight Frank Frank C., the letterer of this book. Not familiar with his work whatsoever, but the lettering in here was top notch. In fact, I'm reading it and I go, it doesn't look like Haas did this, but it kind of has like the energy of a Hassan Othman-el-Hal lettered book. So the lettering on this book was top notch. I really, really liked the story, really liked the art. I thought it really worked out very well. So Elliot, congratulations. That was a really cool job. Gene Simmons, Dominatrix. Gene Simmons, Dominatrix, number 1. This is a comic book. The story is created by Gene Simmons from Kiss. I'm a Kiss fan, so I'm paying attention. It's got a cover by Jim Ballant. I remember Jim Ballant from the Catwoman days in the 90s when I was like preteen. Perfect era. I like this cover. There's some variant covers, including a Joseph Michael Linsner. That is one of the best Linsner covers I've seen in a long time. That was a 1 in 10, unfortunately, and so I didn't get that. But I like this cover. Did I consider this for cover of the week? Oh, yeah. And you know why? What about the inside, though? Is this book better than just the cover? Not really, but I had fun with it, to be honest with you. Is it just a cover buy? No, because I enjoyed the book. What it is this. It's a dominatrix, and she's in the middle of a session with a client, and all hell breaks loose, and she's in the midst of all these people coming in trying to kill her and this dude and what's not. She has no idea what's going on. But she winds up with a bag of pills, so she takes one of the pills. Why is ridiculous, but she takes one of the pills, and it gives her, like, superpowers. Okay, so now she's a dominatrix with superpowers embroiled in the midst of this crazy shit going on. Is she connected to it, or is she isn't? I don't know. And by the way, yeah, her superhero costume is the dominatrix outfit. Yeah, Gene Simmons, I like the way you think. The artwork inside is decent. It's all right. I wish it was a little bit better, but it gets the job done. It's cool. But you keep giving us covers like that, I think I might just have to be buying these. And that Linsner cover, man, I really want that. I'm glad they have the variant covers realized in full glory in the back. And there's the cover for issue 2. Man, do I sound like I'm super horny right now? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's just that time of the year. You never know. Okay, from Boom Studios, Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, issue number 7. This book's kind of steamy too, you know what I'm saying? Once Upon a Time at the End of the World has been a great book, but this second arc has been focused on Macy and Mezzy, I believe, right? It's on them, their building of their relationship and their building of community. And one of the things I really liked about the last issue was the representation of polyamory. I thought that was really awesome. And they build up on that here, and they're building this community together. But there's this, because they've already revealed that things they're not going to work out good for this couple who meet at the end of the world. And So it's like this false sense of hope. And it's like as you're going along with the ride, you're like, oh man, this is so awesome. But then you know, and the story reminds you, like, it doesn't end well. But I really like the poly representation, so I think that's super cool. I love the artwork. I love the sexiness. I think this book's awesome. That second issue's getting me. Mosley is here with issue. Is it hot in here? It's 4th of July. It's going to be a hot time in the old town tonight. Mosley, issue number 5 is here. Rob Guillory has done a great job with this book. This is the final issue. Mosley's kind of been like the Moses story, but in this like techno-phagey kind of world, almost of techno. I think I misused that. Techno-phagey? Technophage. Is that like that Neil Gaiman tech world books or whatever? Technophage. What am I thinking? Anyway, this is like the story of Moses, but for the digital age, okay? Anyway, I really like this. Rob Guillory gives us big, cool ideas in a very bombastic, action-oriented way with the family drama aspect. He did the same thing with Grassroots. Is that the name of? No. What's the name of the book that he did? I'm looking. Farmhand. Grassroots. Farmhand. Family dynamic, family drama, cool concepts, high octane adventure and action. So, very satisfying conclusion there. It is hot. You know, I turned the AC off, and it is literally hot. It's not just me. Pink Elephant, issue number 1. This is from Sumerian Press. I liked this book. I thought it was pretty cool. There's this crazy old woman, right? She's creepy. And in the midst of that, there's like in every horror film, every slasher film, there's a group of kids. They're on the road, going to some place. They stop at a creepy gas station. They meet this creepy woman. They get to where they're going, which is apparently Twin Peaks. That's the Twin Peaks sign right there. Doom, doom, doom. I mean, that's a total reference to Twin Peaks. Totally. They get there. This one dude stole something from the gas station. Turns out it has hits of acid in it. They decide, let's take the damn acid. Well, I don't think they should have done that. And maybe there's a slasher coming after him. I liked that, though. Horror slasher fans, you want to check that one out. By the Horns, Dark Earth, issue number 10. Loved this issue. Loved this book. I think Marcus-san Naso and Jason Murr have done such a fantastic job just crafting a brilliant, beautiful, imaginative, and colorful world that they have continued to develop in this series. Nipples on this page, so I hope... Who cares? Who cares? Free the nipple. But one of the things I really like about what they've been doing with Dark Earth is that there has been this slow buildup of tension that just keeps like dun-dun, dun-dun, dun-dun. And certain things get tense and resolve, but the main thread of the story has continued to just ratchet up the levels of tension all the way through. And by the end of issue 10, which is actually issue 18... it feels like it's about to just erupt into some craziness. We shall see what happens, but this has been one of the best comics on shelves, a wildly imaginative and incredibly designed world from the creators. That's a good quote. What is it? An intelligently designed world, whatever. If you like that quote, y'all, you can use it. Sins of the Salton Sea, issue number 2 from AWA. This is written by Ed Brisson with artwork by C.P. Smith. I really like it. It works and reads like a really good crime fiction drama that you would watch on like FX or something like that. Not saying it has Justified vibes or flair to it, but think something like that. Like something that would like a lesser version of Justified almost in a way. It's not about a cop, but it's about this former criminal. He's convinced by his brother in the last issue to do one more job. And then that job gets really complicated when what they're trying to steal from this armored truck turns out to be somebody's ex-wife and kid who's trying to escape them. And he's a rich ass. You know what I'm saying? So it's familiar territory. The art's pretty decent. And it has some big moments where you're like, what? And if this was a TV show, a Netflix series, something like that, this would be something that a lot of people would probably be into. So Sins of the Salton Sea, I was very impressed again with issue number 2. And then we've got Maleficent, Disney Villains Maleficent, issue number 3. Sue Lee doing mostly a silent issue. So in this story, Maleficent has this like prince come up, talking some shit. In the last issue, she challenges dude, whatever. In this one, she's like, tells her Raven, I can't remember the Raven's name, tells the Raven, and the Raven doesn't talk. This is a very grounded approach to this fantastical world of Maleficent, but she tells her Raven, did the Raven talk in the movie? Raven didn't talk in the movie, did it? No. I don't freaking remember. Anyway, let me know. Did the Raven talk? I don't remember. I haven't seen Sleeping Beauty in years. Anyway, most Disney animals talk. Maleficent, issue number 3, though. It's mostly in it. So she sends the Raven off to go spy, and the Raven gets in this little adventure on their own with like this lynx, right? And so it's mostly a silent issue of just the Raven flying around, coming across this lynx, but it's actually incredibly well done, a masterclass in comic book storytelling, and it's just beautiful. Sue Lee's artwork is absolutely beautiful, and out of all of these Disney books that we've gotten so far, the most gorgeous looking one has been Sue Lee's. I loved it. Thought it was great. Now, before we wrap up, 2 of my favorite series from the last year have released in trade paperback this week. I want to point that out. First of all Against All, the complete series is here by Alex Packnadel, Casper Wingard, Hassan Osman El How. What a great book, and the best way to read this is all together in one chunk. Great artwork, a visceral, raw, charcoaly edge to it. It has a brutal sense of violence, whether it's inward or outward. This book was amazing. Absolutely great. And the Pink Lemonade trade is finally here, y'all. Nick Cagnetti has crafted one of the best debuts of a superhero since Hellboy and Madman, and I am serious as hell. I know people love Miles, people love Spider-Gwen, but me, I'm all about Pink Lemonade, baby. This is a boisterously fun comic book that explores nostalgia, and not just like, oh, nostalgia, so bad, but the positive aspects of nostalgia, how we can use that to inspire, to create new art, new ways of thinking, new ways of being. This book is awesome. If you like works from people like Mike Allred, you definitely need to check out Pink Lemonade. Now you can get it $25 all together. Rockin' Robbie 100% recommends this book. And if you're not convinced yet, or if you are convinced, check us out tomorrow night or tonight whenever you're watching this video. Wednesday night, July 5th, 7 p.m. Central Time. We got the creator of this book, Nick Cagnetti, here for a live conversations. So, to recap, Pink Lemonade trade paperback is out. Must buy, must own. Join us for Nick Cagnetti live on Wednesday night. Then we got All Against All, fantastic book, must read, must own. Maleficent, amazing silent story for the most part by Sue Lee. Sins of the Salton Seas, one of the best FX crime series that never got made. By the Horns, Dark Earth, imaginative, tension building, great stuff there. Pink Elephant, cool and fun for slasher fans who like to trip acid. Mosley was a really solid, fantastic ending to a really cool family drama. Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, Jason Aaron working on his best book. Maybe. Dominatrix got me all steamy, so let's continue that. Under the Influence, nice to see Elliot Rahal back in the saddle again. Barnstormers was very surprising to me. I loved it. A nice, classic, sexy, vintage feel to it. Then we got Extreme Venomverse. That's the cover of the week by Peach Momoko. Clobbering Time, Steve Scrose ends that in fantastic qualities. What? Doctor Strange continues to be fun. Fantastic Four, I just don't like being disappointed. I mean, it's got some cool, it's got some bad. You know, Daredevil it was a little clunky, maybe too big, not enough room to breathe on Daredevil. Captain Marvel Dark Tempest, didn't like the book, loved that cover. Then we got Peacemaker Tries Hard, loved that issue. Adventure Superman John Kent, that's pretty decent. Steelworks was actually pretty decent, improvement from issue number 1. Night Terrors Ravager, maybe a bit more plugged into the overall narrative than possibly. You might want to check this one out because I thought that one was really good. Night Terrors Black Adam, not essential to anything, whether you're reading Black Adam or Night Terrors, but it's cool to see Jeremy Hahn do some superhero action. Night Terrors Poison Ivy, only if you're following Poison Ivy because it continues some of that thematic material. Night Terrors the Joker, not essential to any part of Night Terrors or even the Joker series, but a nice fun exploration of what the Joker's #1 nightmare would be. Night Terrors Batman, definitely a little bit more plugged in, so if you want a little bit more connected tie-ins, you might want to check that one out. But Night Terrors First Blood was good. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Spawn. Thought that was great. Torrent was a decent enough ending, but it needed a few extra pages. I Hate This Place was a perfect ending. Phantom Road ending book 1 in spectacular fashion. Weird Work just didn't quite click for me. Untold Tales of I Hate Fairyland was really solid, but the pick of the week was Swan Songs, because W. Maxwell Prince is like, oh, you thought Ice Cream Man was depressing? And don't think I forgot about it, y'all. Smell of the week goes to the Pink Lemonade trade paperback. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. Anyway, I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for watching. What are you reading? Let us know in the comments down below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate all the support. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Join us over at patreon.com/PCP. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station, pop, pop, boom!